I am very honored and proud to see you here. Let me first thank the Cultural Center, the Dutch Cultural Center of Ternode, for allowing us to be here in this room, very close to the center of Brussels. Let me thank very much, in particular, the presence of my dear friend, the representative of the Kurdish regional government here in Brussels, Delavar Ajeki. It is really a big honor that I can have you here. Let me also thank the presence of Ambassador Luís Rito, that has given me the honor of his presence in other occasions. Let me thank you as well, the very distinguished personalities from the expatriate, both Syrian and Iranian communities here in Brussels. I am seeing several friends. Let me also thank the presence of my dear associates of SADF, like Albino, that is now coming through the door, and ladies staying in the back, some volunteers as well that have been helping us. Above all, let me tell you that I am deeply happy to see Man Al-Ashbani. Some of you must know him better than others. I know him for quite some time, for 10 years. He has been an enthusiast for freedom and democracy in Syria. He has suffered tremendously for the situation of the country, personally, and his family, as you can see in the bulletin that he is going to present just after my initial words. He lost very close members of his family, some of them very recently, assassinated, tortured and assassinated by the Syrian regime. And I know that how painful it has been for you, but we are all in this together. The Alliance to Renew Cooperation Among Humankind was an idea we had in 2010, just after I finished my presence in the European Parliament. Some friends got together to form this association without disregard for others that are not here present. I would have to say that the most enthusiastic of all was exactly Kamal Batal, a very dear friend from Lebanon, a human rights defender, a very committed person to the values that are forming the core of our humankind. And Kamal understood right from the start of the uprising in Syria that it would be the most important and fundamental issue confronting us. And for several reasons, I was, me and the other members of Arts Humankind, we were 5, we could not pay the attention we wanted to Arts Humankind. As most of you might know, I engaged myself in a new organization, which was and is South Asia Democratic Forum, looking at other areas, looking at different challenges. Other people had to do the same for professional or personal reasons. But Kamal was the one who really got Arts Humankind alive. He was the one that engaged in receiving the first Syrian refugees in Lebanon, namely in the Bekaa Valley. he was the one who collected and confronted. He was a technician of human rights, so he was not the type of person that would hear a story and would just think, well, I know it. No, no, no. He was carefully confronting stories, and when he realized that things were getting together, he made a public the accusation that the Iranian Revolutionary Guards in Damascus, in the hospital of Damascus, that was supposed to be there as doctors, treating the wounded from the demonstrations in Syria, were actually murdering the wounded people at Damascus hospital. And he denounced this publicly. This was something that he managed to go through the international media. This was published in several places in the United States, for instance, I do remember. And just shortly afterwards, I really do not know what happened. I wasn't there. I just got the news, he's no longer. Apparently, he had a heart attack in the Bekaa Valley, and for some reason he was not evacuated to Beirut, not before a long time, and when he got there, he was dead. His family did not want to make any autopsy, refused it for religious reasons. Which I can understand, so I really do not know what happened. But I do know that he was the most faithful friend of the Syrians that were being persecuted. And so I would like to remember him. He died already on June the 4th of 2011. It's already over 3 years. After he was dead, actually Our Humankind did not operate as such anymore for a long time. But now we are doing it again because the situation allows us to do so. And I'm not getting into the detail of what this bulletin is about, because we have the main editor here to speak to you on this. But I would like to give you some words that for me are very important. Well, the first thing to me that is very, very important to me is that people tend to, people and our modern communication system tends to create, forgetfulness very easily. Just a friend of mine was saying to me yesterday at the dinner something I would expect. Oh, well, how comes the Islamic State is so important, and they came out of where? It's such a surprise. How could it be a surprise? The Islamic State is, there is a very, very thorough study. I wrote about the Islamic State at length in my book, 2008, but one of the major sources I used is this book, which is a French researcher that writes it's from 2005, and he says Zarqawi is the new face of Al-Qaeda. He says that in 2005, analyzing what happens from 2001 onwards. And it is clear that Osama bin Laden, even before September 11, and already knowing very well that the Americans would, at the very least, would bombard everything that they would have in Afghanistan, he decided strategically to create the second big branch of Al-Qaeda in Kurdistan, in Iraqi Kurdistan, in the border of Iranian and Iraqi Kurdistan. And so the first organization was founded on the 1st of September, 10 days before, 1st of September 2001, Jundar al-Islam. And then you have all the story of this organization developing into Ansar al-Islam. This organization, when it was created, its working language was Farsi, was Persian. So you can imagine who was supporting it. It should be very obvious for everyone what it means. And from there, they became, of course, very powerful in 2004 for an obvious reason, because the United States decided to dissolve the whole of Iraqi army and the whole of the state. And so they really created the ideal conditions for this organization to prosper. The organization in 2003, the United States, together with the Kurdish Peshmerga, made a big operation and destroyed their bases in the border where they were between Iran and Iraq, in Kurdistan, and they moved basically to Syria. They have been in Syria ever since, up to the uprising, basically with the complicity of the Syrian authorities. It's quite obvious. And after the uprising, in a very dubious position and situation, I think that only in the last few months there were clear clashes, and there was a real opposition between the two organizations. So the Islamic State is not coming out of nowhere. Of course, they exist for a long time, and they, as well as the Shia jihadi organizations, which are not better, are the main problem either in Iraq or in Syria. This is my deep conviction. This is what I concluded from what I have seen in the region. I had the opportunity, I've been many times in Iraq. I have been a lot of times, and I'm very honored to have been a lot of times, in Ashraf, in the camp of the Iranian resistance in Iraq that played a vital role in helping Iraqis to develop, to make their political parties democratically, not as accusations were being made, but the Iranian resistance played a very important role, very positive role in Iraq. And I've been as well in the south of Iraq, in the west of Iraq, and I've been in Iraqi Kurdistan. And I can testify that if there is one place in Iraq and in the whole of the area where you can be Arab, you can be Kurd, you can be Turkoman, you can be Muslim, you can be Christian, you can be whatever you want, and you are not threatened for this reason. The culture of respect and tolerance regarding the others from the Iraqi Kurdistan. Mr. Delavar just left momentaneously, but I know that the message will be transmitted to him, is something that fascinated me. Actually, my last report I did in the beginning of 2010, just before Hashim Khan, which was a green ray over Iraq. The green ray over Iraq was exactly Kurdistan, was exactly what Kurdistan was meaning, and the Kurdish experience is fundamental for Iraq and for Syria, because this is an experiment of tolerance, of respect for the others. Of course, also praising Kurdish as anybody else. They are proud of their nation, they are proud of their language, they are proud of their traditions, of their flag, but they managed to do so respecting the others. And this is a tremendously important lesson that you gave us, and I think that we have to be very thankful for the Kurdish regional authorities for everything you have been doing, and we have to nurture and we have to support as much as possible what you have been doing in Iraq and what I think you might be doing, and inshallah you will be able to do what you are trying to do in Kobane. We are all with our hearts pulsing to see that you will be victorious in what you are doing. Well, just some more words. You will have the opportunity of listening to mine just afterwards. But this bulletin is a bulletin made by Syrians. You will see here. Really, I consider this a treasure, because this is the type of information you don't get in the Western press. And you have things here that are fundamental to understand what is happening in Syria. But this is a bulletin for Europeans. Our target is the European public opinion. And regarding the European public opinion, I would like to stress three very important messages. Well, number one message, people speak at length about what will happen when the Islamic State fighters will return to Europe. Well, I think that our media, our European media and European politicians really should give a second thought before putting things like that, because apparently they are not concerned with the crimes that these people are committing right now in Iraq and Syria. They are just concerned with Europe. And they are not concerned with why did they go in the first place? Why is jihadism as a totalitarian ideology not combated in an efficient way in Europe? Why are we producing all these criminals going to Syria? This is the debate we should have right now in Europe. And the second thing that is very much highlighted in the bulletin as well is the disgraceful way we deal with the Syrian refugees. We have an estimation of roughly 11 million, 11 might be 12, might be 10, might be something like that, but roughly 11 million Syrians that were forced to leave their land, and they are treated in a despicable way. We have some stories here in the bulletin, and this should not go like that anymore. We have, when we do not respect other human beings, we disrespect ourselves. We are murdering Europe. Each time we look the other way around and we don't see, like we have in this bulletin, a lady and her children dying of starvation in the shores of Greece, from Syria. When this happens, it is not only this lady and these children that are dying. It is Europe. It is European humanity that is dying as well. And you have to understand this. And last but not least, we have to look differently on what's going in Syria. We cannot go, apparently the public opinion reacts like that. 2011. Television is full of the crimes of Assad, the way he murders people. Then chemical weapons. I don't know how many hundred chemical weapons attacks they have done, and they are on the record. And then suddenly you don't hear about it anymore because of information fatigue, because basically the television knows that after some time the viewer is not looking at it anymore, so they keep it out of the television. And then suddenly you see, oh, Islamic State. Oh, and the Islamic State is the enemy of Assad. Oh, so the Assad is certainly the good guy, or the least bad guy. This is the way that we cannot go on looking at things. I mean, the Islamic State, as I said before, has been for very long around. When people say, how did they conquer all this? Well, in 2006, when the Islamic State was declared, was the Islamic State on the land of the two rivers. That was the full name of it. But, and they did not claim to be a caliphate. The caliphate is a very recent thing. But they already existed. And they controlled a very large area of Iraq in 2006. So it's nothing so new as people imagine. What we have to do is to understand the reality and to understand that we have to act not, one day it's on the news, we do something, then we forget. No, has to be a strategy. And the strategy has to understand that the two competing jihadi factions, the Shia and the Sunni, none of them is better than the other. Both of them are horrendous. They have some differences because the Shia tradition, for instance, uses more disguise than the Islamic State puts things in the net. The Shia jihadis controlled by Tehran, they don't do it. They just do the same thing. They cut the throats, they assassinate people, they do everything like the others, but they just don't put it in the net as the others. But they are equal. And if there is something, it's not really my favorite politician and author, but if there is something that Henry Kissinger, recent book, he wrote it a couple of months ago, was edited a couple of months ago. If this book is worth reading, is that he exactly says, just in the beginning, what is the most important thing to bear in mind. In the Middle East, jihadists on both sides of the Sunni-Shia divide tear the whole of the region apart. Exactly. This point is absolutely right. If we do not understand this, we are bound to repeat the same errors we did in Iraq. We will do it in Syria, we will do it everywhere. They are no different. There is only one way to act, to go at the same time against both of them. They are basically the same. Of course, they have a main difference. All of them, they want to be the caliph. That's it. And of course, there can be only one caliph, there cannot be two or three. There, they have a tremendous difference, and they will cut their throats once to the others when the time will come. That's true. But otherwise, they are exactly the same. There is no difference. They have, I know some of the rituals that are different, but it's nothing. They have the same ideology. And we have to combat them exactly the same way. To say, we are going to combat the Islamic State and forget about Assad and forget about the crimes of the Shia jihadists is a tremendous mistake. Syria is now a country where from one side of the jihadi spectrum you have the Iranian Revolutionary Guards. They are there. They are there with Hezbollah from Lebanon. They are there with the Shia Iraqi militia terrorists. They are there with the poor Afghani that are coming as refugees to Iran, and then they are as mercenaries for a few hundreds of dollars. They go to combat for Iran and for Assad in Syria, and they are now coming back in coffins. The news are that there are hundreds of burials recently in Iran, either of Afghani refugees or of Iranians that are coming from Syria. So they are an expeditionary force as it is the Islamic State. Islamic State has nothing to do with Syria, has nothing to do with Iraq. And of course there are other jihadists as well. But we have to combat them all at the same time, and we have to trust and to make all the best, all we can to work with those who showed already they are able to understand the others. And there, the Kurdish regional government is really the fundamental ally. Europe must do everything it can to cooperate with the Kurdish authorities and to allow the example of the Kurdish authorities to prosper, and to see that in the future, perhaps other areas of Syria and other cultures, they will understand that they will have to do it the same way. And perhaps the Alawites and the Druze and the Arabs, the Sunni Arabs and the Christians and whoever else can understand this, that the future is not in sectarian killing of the others. The future is in respect, understanding, and dialogue. This is what I would like to tell you, and thank you very, very much for your presence. I'm very deeply touched, and now let's hear my dear friend Man.
Thank you. I will stand as well. Good morning. Thanks everybody for coming, ladies and gentlemen. صباح الخير، شكرا لحضوركم أصدقائنا اللي بيحكوا عربي. Well, I would like to thank Archmankind and Mr. Paulo Casaca from the deep of my heart for his support and for his help. He was always there for me and for everybody who asked. What you have in your hand now, it's a work of many Syrians who believe democracy and a human right. He believes a change. And he believes freedom for his own country and for everybody. In this paladin, we're trying to focus on the reality in Syria, in the people in jail, people in troubles, people under collapsing house. We focus on the story of the people, and we said that this story, it will never die, because we will tell their stories. Under this war now, or it become a war in Syria, there is a still civil activity, and there is still artists and musicians and singers and actors. They are still alive. And I really focus on these people to show there is still life in Syria, not only killing and death and Islamic State and Daesh and Nusra and I focus on the activity of the children in Syria and in many organizations who really care about our children's future. On the other hand, we see the Islamic State and Daesh and Nusra, they are taking our children to a special camp and train them to be a soldier and jihadis. I will show you a little video, and I will give you the time to read it and to have more information. I will turn the light, please. Thank you very much. I decided not to talk much because I was a little bit sad and because of the situation in my country, of my family. In March, I lost my brother. He was arrested by the Syrian regime. He was a civil activist, helping the refugees and helping the people in Syria. His name is Marwan. He was 50 years old, a father of 3 children. He was tortured to death. And when my family went to receive his body, they could not recognize him. Also, I lost another brother in 2000. After 17 years of disappear, we didn't know it. And we received his body in a box. And nobody was able to look at him, or to look to his body. My brother Marwan the security of Assad. They gave him 2 hours to bury him with a lot of security. And they followed him to the cemetery to be sure that nobody will open them. And to bury many stories with him. But we decided not to bury any story of Syria. We published this bulletin to talk about it. Thank you.
هذول عيل ببعضهم زدوا ولا بعيد لا بعيد خليك مع الدرجة على جرى يا شباب شوي شوي خالد عليك
And our message to remind the people what the media forget now, that to speak about the civilian in Syria, the people in Syria. Everybody, every radio and television show the war in Syria. Nobody show the civilian. Nobody show the people in Syria.
I was recently in New York. I was last week in New York, and there is a great exhibition there in the new museum about Arab art. And there are some young Syrian artists.
shadows settle on the place that you left. Our minds are troubled by the emptiness. Destroy the middle, it's a waste of time. From the perfect start to the finish line. And if you're still breathing, you're the lucky ones. 'Cause most of us are heaving through corrupted lungs, setting fire to our insides for fun, collecting names of the lovers that went wrong, the lovers that went wrong. And you caused it. And you caused it.
Many congratulations, man. I think this is a fantastic job you have done. I hope that we will be able to make as big a diffusion as possible of both the movie you just see, the documentary that is very, very, very good, and also the bulletin. We have some extra copies in paper, not many. But we can have it an access to it from our website.
Yes.
It is a bit late, our website. We had some technical problems. We hope that tomorrow it will be online. It is very simple. It's Art Humankind, www.arthumankind. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's here. It's here. You're right. You're absolutely right. So, and now I would very much like to see if some of you, some journalists, if you have to ask some, if you want to ask some questions for on this issue for us to proceed, or if yes, if after the journalists, anybody else, of course, yeah.
What is the plan for now, then, with Art Humankind and this divulgation?
Paulo Cabasso, you are
I'm a journalist for Demokratische Spiegel in Germany, Berlin. I'm related to economical issues mostly, but also the social happenings in Kurdistan, Afghanistan. Also, we work on the past. And of course, I'm pretty much interested to also help Art Humankind promoting this, especially this last part of the movie. I think it's going to be very helpful.
Paulo, let me first tell you how I am very much touched that you gave yourself the trouble of coming here to see us. Our main objective is to move the European conscience. What is going on? I think that people before they know exactly what to do. We have ideas, we have proposals. I made some proposals here. I think that the only reasonable thing to be done in Syria is actually to implant safe havens. This has to be done. The issue, of course, is with whom. And I see that's not easy to sort out because, I only know, people that I absolutely, those people that escorted me along hundreds of kilometers in northern Iraq to the Yazidis towns for Sinjar, the Peshmerga, in my opinion, the Iraqi Kurdish Peshmerga are, to my knowledge, the only forces that are there that are absolutely trustworthy. Unfortunately, I would not put my hands in the fire for no one else, but I certainly would put, and I did. I mean, I would deliver my security and everything without a single hesitation. And I think everybody can do that to the Iraqi Peshmerga, but we have to, this example has to fructify, and we must have more people there. I mean, we must have more trustworthy forces that we can be sure that they will learn how to tolerate people. You know, the lady was saying over there that everybody's killing everybody. This sectarian strife, for instance, one of the most important things in the bulletin is what is going on with the Alawites, because the Alawites are now realizing that they are victims. They are victims of both the Iranians that are using them as cannon fodder, and of course from the Islamic State. They are not at all happy with Assad. They want something different. But of course, that they have to be protected. All the jihadis, the Sunni jihadis, want to slaughter them. And of course, they have a very obvious security concern over there. So how can we do it? I think that we have to start with zones, haven zones with trustworthy people that will respect all ethnic minorities or majorities, never mind, or everybody can be protected. I think that other than the Kurdish regional government, the only other trustworthy party there that could have a very good action is the Kingdom of Jordan. As a matter of fact, I think the Kingdom of Jordan is on the other side of the Syrian map, would be the ideal counterpart. But you know, more important than anything else is for us Europeans to understand what is going on, and for us to have a different position. If we do it, I think things might start changing. If we don't do it, things will not get better, because you know, the struggle against jihadism is not something for being sorted out in 1 week, not in a month, not in a year, not in 5 years, most likely. It's going to be a very long strategic fight against this jihadi culture. And of course, that we have to be conscious that we have this so-called Islamic State that was proclaimed already in 2006, and right now it was just proclaimed as a caliphate. That means that they do not pay any respect to nobody else but to themselves. That's basically what it means. They would consider themselves as being emirs, and now they are the caliph. The guy is the caliph, Caliph Ibrahim. Okay, so he's the one who is the big shot. But we have had an Islamic State for a very long time that is really the most important problem creator on the whole of the area. And this is the Islamic Republic of Iran. And we have to understand this. If we don't understand this, we will go nowhere. I don't know if you want to say something else, man.
Perfect. All right. Well, we in one of the article actually we're following deeply the situation of the Syrian part, of the regime part. They're really demonstrating almost weekly, sometimes daily, against Assad now, because they're really fed up and they don't feel safe anymore, and they do not believe that Assad is their solution, and he's the savior of the Alawite. More than 60,000 soldier, Alawite soldier, has been killed, and now they are asking for more. And day after day, even here in Europe, I see many young Alawite who escape from Syria because they don't want they don't want to serve in the army. And they found out it was a big lying game. Right.
Any other questions from anybody else? Yes, please.
Tu peux parler en français?
Oui, je crois, la plupart d'entre nous. Or you can speak in Arabic, because I'm not sure if mine will. But I can't follow in Arabic, I'm very sorry. So.
J'ai seulement d'abord Kamal Adwan des coalitions des Syriens de secours. On travaille pour aussi une action humanitaire et des Syriens. En fait, d'abord, je dois remercier mon frère Ma'an pour tout ce qu'il a fait pour éclairer un petit peu de réalité pour ce qui se passe en Syrie. Mais le problème, c'est que je veux dire, je dois donner une petite clarification pour la situation. Parce qu'on parle toujours Daesh, on parle toujours Assad, mais il y a aussi d'autres choses qui sont liées à la destruction du peuple syrien. Et ils sont là, Hezbollah aussi, et pour tout ce qui est aussi, moi je dis aussi des djihadistes chiites qui viennent d'Irak ou d'Iran et tout cela. Et ça, on oublie toujours et clarifier les situations dans les médias et dans tous les sortes de médias. Ça, il faut aussi qu'on doit mettre les lumières à ces choses-là. Pas seulement Daesh, parce que Daesh aussi, il a des sœurs et des frères, et il s'appelle Hezbollah et il s'appelle Asa'ib al-Haq en Irak et en Iran. Et merci.
Je vous remercie énormément. C'est exactement ce que j'essaie de faire ici dans mon discours, c'est de dire, c'est pour ça que cette phrase de M. Kissinger était si importante, c'est de dire que les factions djihadistes, soit chiites, soit sunnites, c'est la même chose. C'est la même chose. Le Hezbollah n'est pas meilleur que l'État islamique. Ils ont assassiné, tué, torturé tant ou plus de monde que les djihadistes sunnites. Je suis tout à fait d'accord avec vous et c'est exactement ce que je crois qu'on ne comprend pas ici en Europe et qu'on doit comprendre. Qu'on ne comprend pas si on dit aux gens pourquoi est-ce qu'en Irak les Arabes sunnites, pourquoi est-ce qu'ils sont encore avec l'État islamique? Bon, parce que s'il n'y a pas d'État islamique, il y a des milices iraniennes qui vont là tuer les gens. C'est simple, c'est évident. C'est pas possible de continuer comme ça. Ce qu'il faut faire, c'est en même temps de combattre toutes les formes de djihadisme. Toutes. Tous ceux qui disent vous êtes un infidèle, vous ne pensez pas comme moi, je vous coupe la tête. Tous ceux doivent être combattus sans aucune réticence. Vous avez tout à fait raison. Je vous remercie beaucoup de votre contribution. Parce que c'est exactement ma pensée et c'est exactement ce que je crois qu'il nous faut comprendre ici en Europe. C'est le point capital, tout à fait d'accord avec vous. Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
I don't know if there is any other question. We have a modest, but I am sure very good. I did not look at it yet, but I know we have some Syrian specialties. That are waiting for all of us. I would like very much, we have here some very important people. Mr. Ambassador, really your presence for me is touching me very, very deeply. We have very important people in the exiled Iranian community. We have very important people in the exiled Syrian community. We have Ambassador Rito, my compatriot from Portugal, that gave me really the honor of being here. We have several people that work in SADF, the South Asia Democratic Forum as well, that I would like to thank very much for your presence. And I would very much appreciate that if we would take this this time to, with some Syrian and other specialities, to develop more our conversation and exactly to know what shall we do. I mean, my strategy right now is to highlight, to make as much publicity as possible on the reality. to show that the Islamic State and Hezbollah and the Iraqi Hezbollah and the Iraqi, they have 20 Shia terrorist organizations in Iraq that are terrorizing in Syria and in Iraq as well, that are threatening, and they are threatening the regional government of Kurdistan as well. They are threatening, and these people are no better than the Islamic State. And this is what has to be highlighted. And this is my strategy. If we manage to understand the situation, I think something different is possible. What I see as most important is to have really safe havens. And for this, of course, we have to, the forces on the ground, they have to be respectful of the others. You cannot say, either in Kurdistan, in Syrian Kurdistan, or wherever else, you cannot say, well, you have to be in our organization, you cannot be in a different organization, you cannot think differently. This is not possible. This is not possible. This is not for this that the Syrians are making the revolution against Assad. It's to be free and to have their free opinions. And so that's very, very important to do. That would be, I would say, the first material goal we would have. So thank you very much, and now we will proceed to our small reception. And once again, many congratulations, man. This is a big success. There will be others, and I'm sure there will be always better. And thank you all for your participation.